Hi, guys, and welcome. I am interviewing Chef Lisa Brooks today, and I wanted to give her a quick little introduction before we get started. As many of you know, she's just one of my favorite people, but she's been a very special guest this month of July. She's been the featured chef of the month, and she's offered her very special steak recipe. And I just have such a special place in my heart for her. She's a very inspiring person. And so I wanted you all to get a chance to get to know her a little bit more as well. Uh, a little bit of background about Chef Lisa before we get started is that even with her years of education that she received just in her family kitchen, and you'll hear a lot more about that. She goes into a little bit of detail about that in our interview. She earned an associate's degree in culinary arts from Central Piedmont Community College and is a certified culinarian with the American Culinary Federation. Her specialties are Southern cuisine and Low Country Southern cuisine. She has appeared on the Food Network's Guys, Groceries, and Games, PBS Charlotte Cooks, and makes regular appearances on the local morning shows. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to Chef Lisa Brooks. All right, welcome, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining today. And you're welcome. So I wanted, after introducing you, I wanted to actually have you introduce yourself as well and tell us a little bit about your background and what inspired you to get into cooking.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. Well, I am a native Charlottean. I am a Southern girl. I am Southern through and through, and I learned to cook from my grandmother, my great grandmother, and my mother. So those were my first culinary instructors. In my house, in our family, rather, Sunday dinners were these huge events. I mean, every Sunday, we had Sunday dinner. My mother has seven siblings, I'm sorry. And I have six siblings. And so all of my aunts and uncles each had a handful. So you can imagine if all of my grandmother's children and grandchildren were at her house on Sunday, it was about 60 people every Sunday. So with just 4 burners and a stove, my grandmother would create these elaborate Sunday dinners, and it was just one of the best memories of my childhood is just being in the kitchen with them, just seeing them bring food in from the garden and like turn it into this amazing spread, and just the feeling that created, the atmosphere of love and acceptance and joy and just laughter, and then just a feeling of comfort from the food. And so that, I think, has just always been in me, that kind of showing love through food. So growing up, as I became, left home and went to college, I was that person that always had people over to my dorm room or apartment, and like, seriously, and like, make big breakfasts or brunch for people. We would also have, with my college friends, we'd have Sunday dinners. Because on Sunday, that's what you do. You have big Sunday dinners. And so that's kind of, it's been a way of life my whole life. So that's always been in me. Now, my original career, I went into graphic design, which led me into more of a technical support type role, and with a software company for 20 years. And so it wasn't until the age of 40, when my son was graduating high school, that I decided, I think I'm going to cook for a living. Out of the blue. I'm just going to walk away from 6-figure salary and do the thing I love. And it turns out to have been the best decision I ever made. So I've been in business 10 years now. Just everything about it was just it was just right. I'm actually walking in my passion now. I'm walking in my gift, my talents. And there's no better place to be than in your sweet spot.
Oh.
So I am certainly in my sweet spot as a chef. I'm a personal chef, not a restaurant chef. And it has been such a blessing. So I'm able to go into people's homes, be a part of their celebrations, just like growing up, I was in that place. And so we create those atmospheres for people now of love and acceptance, of joy and laughter and comfort through food.
Did you ever want to be in that restaurant setting at all?
No,
No.
it was never crossed my mind. I knew from the beginning. In fact, when I knew I wanted to walk in the direction of food at 40 years old, I Googled food jobs to see what else there was besides the restaurant. I didn't even know about a personal chef. I knew about private chefs who may work exclusively for one family, but to me that was also just like a job, and I didn't want another job, But then I found the concept of a food stylist and a personal chef. So it was between those two. Food styling also is interesting to me, but the personal chef side brought me into the aspect of the celebrations, and the people and the interaction with people. And so that was really kind of a no-brainer at that point.
And the food styling we got a taste of recently.
That's how I know I made the right decision. Because in our photo shoots, I was like, I clearly don't have the gift that someone needs, to be.
Oh, but you nailed it. Yeah.
It's a different thing plating for service and plating for photography. And I definitely learned that. I learned that.
I warn all my clients that prepare for a very long day, and no one ever believes me that 5 dishes will take that long.
OMG. I didn't either. I didn't. I was like, why would that take so long? I don't understand. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Spot on.
But it was fun.
It was fun. And I learned a lot. And my team, all of my girls, in the kitchen, all of my chefs, they all said to me after that day with you, they said they learned so much.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That was a fun day. So tell me, how have things been going since COVID? It's relevant to today, and I feel like it's just something that everyone wants to talk about and hear about.
Right. Obviously, the world has changed for all of us since COVID, and I could kind of pretend and put on a really morose kind of countenance right now and talk about how hard it was. But to be honest, for us, COVID was an opportunity for us to serve our clients even more, because we do have a meal prep aspect to our business. There's in-home parties, which completely went away during the first month and a half. But the meal prep, because restaurants were shut down, and people are like, wait, I gotta feed these kids every day? Like, what? What is this about? I'm sorry, I fed my kid yesterday and he wants to eat again today. So we were able to come in and help those families by just solving the problem of what's for dinner. So we were blessed, truly blessed, in that we kind of aren't a one-trick pony, and we have those 2 lines of business, and that weekly meal prep business definitely carried us through COVID. And now that things have started to open back up and people are really itching to celebrate, we started easing back into the dinner party service with candlelight dinners for 2, because it minimized our exposure, just 2 guests, who had largely been just quarantined with each other, obviously.
Sure.
And instituting protocols like masks and gloves and things for our servers, and social distancing, obviously no shaking hands, no hugging, which which is quite actually, and with what I do, I usually end up getting a hug at the end of the night every night on dinner parties. So for a Southerner, it's really difficult to not hug, but those are the protocols we've had to put in place, and it was really been quite a blessing in disguise, to be honest. I'd have to say there was definitely a silver lining in the way that our views and our practices and what people value has changed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen that from my own business perspective as well. You just have to be thankful for the time that we were still.
Yes.
We had time to think.
Right.
Yeah.
We never get that. And as an entrepreneur,
Yes.
we would never sit down unless forced to sit down.
Yes, exactly.
And so that was actually not bad to have a few weeks where no one expected anything at all from us.
Kind of like the pup in the background.
Right.
Yeah.
That is her life.
Yeah.
Nobody expects anything from her, and that was a good few weeks for me.
From a business perspective, have you found that you've had to pivot at all? Not permanently, but have you had to make any real pivots?
Well, we made pivots in the types of service that we offer. We haven't done any kind of self-serve buffet style, spreads type things. It's all, right now it has to be plated and served.
Okay.
And that's something people really appreciate. They don't want, the other.
Yes.
And, just the changes I've already spoken about, we did for a moment in time, really right when it first happened, I created this huge kind of campaign, like your stay-at-home 4-week meal plan. I called it the stay-at-home meal plan, and people could just sign up. They signed up for 4 weeks, the 4-week commitment, and you got your five meals a week for a family of 4 at a pretty reasonable price. And so that was something that we kind of came up with, and people were like, yes, we want that. And 4 weeks, and then it was maybe 2 weeks shy of the actual reopening in North Carolina.
Sure.
But still it carried families through that period of time.
Yeah.
We've actually kept a few of those clients that were on that plan, and just converted them to a regular plan. So that was really the only true pivot, is just a few tweaks in our in-home service, just COVID precautions.
Yes.
That we had to take, and then just having to think creatively about what we can offer during this time.
Sure. So let's pivot our conversation a little bit to the grilled filet mignon that you have offering the recipe to us kindly, and where you got the inspiration for that, or do you remember?
Well, I can tell you for sure that it wasn't from growing up. So we didn't eat filet mignon growing up. So there's no family story there. But obviously it's just classic American fare. And with my menu, anyone who's experienced the Heart and Soul experience knows that, I've kind of paired my 45 years of cooking, just purely from the heart, Southern, cook with your eyes closed, no measuring type cooking, with my classic French training in culinary school, and kind of merge those two. And so I give my clients what I say is the best of both worlds, right? And so there's always a way for me to elevate, or somehow I'm going to infuse some little piece of Southern something and everything that I do. So a classic filet mignon with grilled asparagus, with potatoes. That's typically the sides with that. That's just one of the menu items that's just more standard American fare. But my marinade for my steak, the marinade for the steak is what differentiates it. And really, it's it used to be a secret, but people would always ask me and try to guess. My customers, like, what is this? They ask me, do we need a knife? Do we need a steak knife? No, you don't need a steak knife. You can eat my steak with a butter knife. And do we need steak sauce? No. If you grab steak sauce, I will not be
Take
happy.
it.
Like, no, you don't need. Just taste it first. And so, really, I mean, the inspiration for that particular recipe is just me trying to figure out how can I put a little Southern into it? So that's where the brown sugar comes in.
Okay.
You know, marinate the steak in brown sugar and soy sauce and a little Dr. Pepper, and um, you can do cheer wine or whatever.
Yep.
It gives you a nice little sweetness to the steak. It just really permeates the soy sauce and gives it a nice. It just gives it a great flavor and super tender. Obviously, filet is the most tender can get anyway. And so the inspiration really was just to, find some kind of way to put a little Southern something on a classic American, upscale dish.
I love that. Love it. Love it. Love it. It's funny because I always put a little Italian spin on things. So I using my language in a different way, right?
Like, you get it. But that's a cool thing. That's a cool thing about food.
Yep.
All open to interpretation.
Exactly. Yeah. And I never measure anything either. So
that's why I'm not a baker.
Exactly.
That's why I don't bake, because I can't measure.
And when I do bake, I have to read it at least 25 times because I worry that I'm going to screw it up, and then I usually do forget some like baking powder or something very important.
It'll ruin the entire thing. That's why I can't take that risk. Man, I just can't. I can't spend an hour and a half of my life for something that turned out wrong. I just can't.
And then you have to do it all over again.
Or not. Either way. I just create great relationships with great bakers.
Yes. So tell us what is in store for the coming year. We're about halfway through this year, although it's been a challenging year, maybe halfway through, but what's in store for 2021 for you? I just wrote, an article. If you haven't read that, you got to read about Lisa, but tell us in your own words what's coming.
Well, we are multiplying. That's what's happening. We are multiplying. The demand for our services has increased. Actually, post-COVID, to be honest, it's just gonna, I think, increase more and more. And so, I've always mentored and brought in interns and trained them, and eventually hire them on the staff. And so now I'm really actively looking to add more chefs to the team so that we can provide these same amazing experiences, to even more customers. And what that allows me to do, more importantly, is to step back out of the kitchen, truly kind of be the CEO of this company and run the business. But I have a couple of projects that are really, they've been on my list too long. And one is my cookbook. I'll get to work on my cookbook. And creating a really a formal program to really help other people realize how easy it is to really have a successful career as a personal chef, because I've done it and I feel like I can help other people do it as well. So those are two projects that I'm working on. So Heart and Soul is going to continue to grow. I'm bringing family in to the business. Even my little nieces now are starting to learn how to become junior servers.
Oh.
I am doing cooking classes because ultimately, I'm continuing a legacy of my family matriarchs, and I want it to continue long after I'm gone.
That's fantastic. Oh, love it. I love it. I love that you're stepping away and you're growing, and so exciting. And I can't wait to see I can't wait to see what's in store. And I'm really excited for the cookbook.
Thank you. Right. Me too.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us all. And Heart and Soul Chef, personal chef services. If you are curious about Lisa's services and want to find out more. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you soon.